Thank you for staying up late with us. We have a great program planned for you and some great guests tonight. We begin. Welcome to The Factor Uncensored. The only way you didn't hear the big news Sunday if you were living under a damn rock. President Joe Biden made it official. He would not be running for re-election. This came through a statement after intense pressure from his party following a bad performance at the presidential debate that Jolanda won't still acknowledge. Biden hasn't made any other major announcement since and has been holding up dealing with COVID. We want to dive right into it with the significance of all of this with our panel tonight. State Representatives Jolanda Jones and Ron Reynolds, Judge Mike Fields, Dr. David Branham, and from the Houston Community College, we have with us Dr. Dietrich von Bidenfeld. Glad to have you all here on The Factor. First of all, Dr. Branham, tell us the significance of this. When was the last time we've seen anything like this in a presidential election?
I don't think we've seen anything like this, except for maybe 1968. People like to bring that up a lot, where we have in this case, voters are not going to ever see their nominee on a ballot. The Democratic primary is basically thrown in the garbage can. All the ballots are gone. Now the nominee would be picked by party elites, the political elites in the Democratic Party, and so you're not going to have voter input in this election. And that was what happened in 1968 that we wanted to change, to make sure that no longer did the people get set aside and that these nominees were picked in smoke-filled rooms. It looks like it's happened again. So that's the big concern that I have.
Jolanda, your response to what we saw this weekend and the president saying, I will not seek re-election.
So it won't be determined in a smoke-filled room. It'll be determined in Chicago when we get the nomination, when she gets the nomination. And then in November, the voters will vote for her. So all this nefariousness doesn't exist. I'm a delegate at the convention, and I'm not a Democratic elite. I'm just a local state elected official. Had nothing to do with Biden deciding that he was going to step aside. And let me be clear. That man put country over self, and I think President Biden had some struggles, and it was definitely going to affect the election. And there's a process by which you can do that, and it's just going to happen. And so I need some grapes, some wine, some grapes, and to go with all this whining. I mean, I just don't understand.
All right, Dr. Dietrich von Bidenfeld, your thoughts on this and this change that we've seen in the election?
Absolutely. This is very precarious for a number of reasons, and of course we're going to see delays. And if anybody doesn't realize the power of courts in this system, go back to Bush v. Gore. I know that was almost 30 years ago, but guess what? It's a reality. And so some of the litigation challenges that some of the heritage institutes and other entities are going to try to
Speaker of the House.
Right. I mean, so
he says he's going to file a lawsuit.
Right. Number 3 in line for the presidency in this succession says, I'm going to fight this. And we've got lacking clarity in certain areas where, for example, Wisconsin, a swing state, some of those DNC rules, and then we've got to parse all these acronyms, PACs, we've got to parse all the, so smoke-filled rooms, I don't know. We saw with the DNC with Hillary Clinton versus Bernie Sanders that there was some elitism and self-selectivity within elite circles where certain delegates were promised things to ensure that Hillary Clinton got the nomination and not Bernie Sanders. So we have this in both parties, and the reality is, as we move forward, I think it was noble of Biden to step down. He probably should have done it sooner, but we all know when we have a grandpa who doesn't want to relinquish the driver's license, sometimes people don't know their lack of capacity until it's too late.
Now, what about the issue where many political analysts said that Biden promised he would only run for one term? Is that accurate, for those who are wondering?
We'll never know. And this happens even in local elections where somebody says, this is my last term. Even one of my favorite representatives, my former Congressman Ron Paul, said I'm term limited, and then the people needed him, and they needed him another term, and then they needed him another term. So it's very difficult to relinquish power. I don't know that he promised he would do this. He was already older than Reagan, so I think there should have been some objectivity and some self-selection where he said, I'm out.
Judge Fields, let's bring you in.
So I think there's a huge difference between 68 and now. In 68, there were two opponents in the Democratic primary. One won the race, the other did not, and there were backdoor deals to make sure that the guy who didn't win got the nomination. This is completely different. And to your point, there are 33 states right now that say whatever the Democratic Party wants to do is what we're going to do. They abide by the rules of the party. That means there are 17 states that are up in play. My question from a legal standpoint is, what standing does the Speaker of the House have to sue the Democratic Party for anything? He's not involved. Now, if it's a member of the Democratic Party who's going to be affected by this change in some way, which I can't see how they would be because there's no nominee. President Biden was the presumptive nominee. He has gotten out of the race for health reasons, and now it's an open convention.
State Representative Ron Reynolds, let's hear from you before we take a break.
I couldn't be more excited, Isaiah, as one of the first, if not the first, elected official to publicly call for President Biden to do the right thing and be a statesman for country and party to step aside and allow Kamala to be the Democratic nominee. I couldn't be more excited. The Republicans are in utter chaos and fear because they wanted to run against Biden. Now they have to run against someone that is going to prosecute the case of a 34 felony convicted former president that is on the wrong side of the issues with Project 2025 hanging over his head.
All right.